lights so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Hello everyone, my name is Captain Mayday, and welcome to No Sky Unexplored. Here we explore each planet in No Man's Sky Origins. Our goal is not survival, but exploration and identification of each and every solar system and planet, including all of their flora, fauna, and minerals. Without any further ado, my name is Captain Mayday, once again, just so you know me, and this is our first planet for our first video. Alpha 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 dash 001 dash PL. Yes, I'm categorizing them all like that, but for future reference, this is not how the videos are going to be playing, and this is not how I'm going to categorize them. I'm still going to use the same naming system, I'm just rather going to use their name after the number. That way they have some form of uniqueness other than the actual number. And rather than actually exploring all of these worlds in first person purely for the video, it's going to be first person and a mix of like wide cam. So that way everybody can kind of get a wide spectral view of what the landscape looks like. Now, whenever I first arrived here at this planet, it said that it was an airless planet, which means that there's no atmosphere whatsoever. So the idea that you're going to find any type of life on this planet is ridiculous. You're not going to find anything here. Fortunately, we're going to be able to find all the minerals with ease, and they are a lot easier than finding the actual fauna themselves. Flora is a different story. Usually whenever you don't have flora on the surface, you might have at least one or two types of flora underneath the ground. So, after scanning all of the surface rocks and looking around for any other minerals that might have been on the surface, that's whenever you want to generally find a cave. That way you're able to go down and find a few more caves. Now, I also found some things here that just I overall thought was awesome. I mean, the rocks, yeah, that's kind of normal. One thing I did notice about a lot of these rocks is they contain liquid, or they're slightly luminescent, or just little things like that. Nothing too obscure, but from what I've been able to gather from the minerals and from just overall the analyzing everything here, most of this planet used to be underwater. Either it was underwater at some point, or this planet went through a catastrophic volcanic event, because most of these rocks are formed by volcanic magma or high condensation or sorry, I can't talk right now, but these are basically giant lava rocks, that are still luminous, probably from some form of mineral that was developed inside of the magma itself, or they are just the byproduct of an underwater world that were formed long ago by volcanic ash and magma. So what I'm thinking happened is this planet was originally all water, and then volcanoes started erupting, and as they started erupting, it started creating all these minerals on the surface, and these mountains would rise up out of the water, and then the water just kind of receded back and eventually evaporated once there was so much sulfur and everything in the air that the actual atmosphere left. So, or not left, but you know what I mean, dissipated. Basically, I believe this is a catastrophe planet. Something happened a long time ago that caused a lot of problems, and now this poor planet is left looking like this, with no atmosphere, magma rocks that are still luminescent or still contain some form of moisture from before this planet became an airless planet. Now, as far as artifacts and any form of colonization, it's almost non-existent. Artifacts you can find, they're definitely here. Uh, it's a little bit harder to find them than it is to find other things like, for example, distress calls. See, here we are. Now, this is an underground cave, and this is where I found two forms of flora. So even though the whole planet is airless and basically claims to have no forms of life whatsoever, we find life in the caves. It it just sometimes works out like that. And if you notice, there's also hanging moss and like small flowers hanging from the ceiling, and outside even there's small patches of like tall looking grass. That's all. It's all pretty much basic for this. Looking for a cave on this planet was a little bit harder than I anticipated, just generally because it was like every hole I found was a crater and didn't actually go down into the ground. God, I hate those things. They totally mess up your screen every time. I knew there was plants somewhere, but usually they're underground. Usually, especially on a planet that claims to not have any flora or fauna, you can usually find them underground. If not, they're in the sky, but that's even more rare. Now, my other issue with this planet was finding waypoints. It was almost impossible, like trying to find a needle in a haystack. There's 6 waypoints on this planet, and I could not find them to save my life. I looked everywhere. I even bought a whole bunch of planetary exploration charts, used them as many times as I could, but every time I used them, it pulled up a factory or a facility or a colony or archive, something on another planet. Ooh, freighter. The odds of a freighter on an airless planet, though, is that's pretty high, I would say, because I mean it's like a giant meteor that's just kind of floating around space. So I imagine a lot of ships would be crashing into it. But looking through with my planetary charts, just overall flying around trying to scan and just look for a trading post, anything that would have a waypoint marker. That way I could actually try to identify a few waypoints on my own. And there was just nothing here. Nothing here. I kept looking though. Everywhere I went, I kept looking. I wasn't too happy about it, but at least the landscape had some form of uniqueness to it. That was another thing I was looking for. The waypoints were really just kind of looking for a spot that is named that I can kind of show off the landscape and stuff. But when I wasn't able to find any, I was kind of adamant about just showing the footage of me flying around and letting y'all see kind of what the landscape looks like on its own. There's some more craters, not even caves. They're just craters that go down about 5, 6, 7 feet maybe, and then that's it. This was like almost highly uneventful, and then all of a sudden I got something and I got excited, and then I saw it was a alien artifact. So I wasn't too terribly excited. I was kind of had my fingers crossed that there might be like some kind of waypoint or office or building or something nearby that we could take and go to actually activate a waypoint. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find one. I got a little upset with it too, because it was getting aggravating at this point. The actual discovery page shows that there's 6 waypoints, and I mean they all show that just so you have something to find. But whenever you can't find a waypoint, there's no way to get a marker that actually is going to take you to a waypoint on the planet. It gets even more aggravating. It was like every time I activated a chart, I had another marker on my screen that's taking up my screen, that's pointing me to another planet that I'm not going to yet. So I had to deal with the markers after a while, and I kind of just didn't want to use certain charts anymore. I wasn't going to use the factory charts. I wasn't going to use the archive charts. The distress charts, I couldn't remember if when you receive a distress signal, if the actual ship has a waypoint marker near it. So I decided I was going to go take a look for that after I left here. I like to learn the languages of the aliens personally, because it's, I don't know, it just gives me a better sense of accomplishment. that didn't look quite right. But I don't know. I like the accomplishments of learning the language, then going back to the space station, and then getting to talk with them again. Now this is when I used my distress signal finder, and I found a couple of distress signals. Um, Unfortunately, they do not have the waypoint marker, which I did not realize, like I said, until I showed up. And then I was like, oh no. So I went to another one just to make sure that they didn't have waypoints, and it wasn't just that one. And it was. They don't have waypoints. Overall, I like the planet. It was a good planet, nice to explore. A lot of craters everywhere, very few caves, no fauna. I like these little floating mountains, like places that you could go onto. But for the most part, I wouldn't even want to build a base on this planet. There's nothing here. It's not exciting. It's not extravagant. It's not what I wanted. So now let's see what all we found on this planet. We are currently in the Alpha 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 001 SO system, which is the solar system these 4 planets are in. Uh, we finished exploring the Alpha 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 -001 PL. So these are the plants of that planet. We have the 0001 flora and the 0002 flora. Both of them are pretty amazing. This one I thought was cool. It's got combustible fruit. I didn't quite understand what that means. Now, a lot of the minerals I've noticed are, like I said, faintly luminescent, or they contain water or have water at the center. Like, see this one right here. This one contains water. It's pyroclastic, photonic, but it has a liquid center. And so these rocks seem like a majority of them are ice, and then a majority of them are see right here, faint life signs. So this right here has proof. This one's a yeast colony, but it's proof that this planet did at some point have life, like parasite host. So there's parasites that live on this one. We have small animals that are living on this planet. We just can't see them. So this planet's not completely dead. Faintly luminous. Yeah, this one's made from sedimentation. Extreme salt content. That kind of goes along with the theory that this planet, used to be like an ocean maybe. Geode rich. Meteorite impact. So that one's not even from this planet, but that's like one of the few minerals out of all of them. But thanks guys for exploring with me, and I'll see you next time on No Sky Unexplored.